Welcome to today's Lunch and Learn webinar, Shipping Connector, Getting the Most Out of Dynamics NAV, brought to you by ArcherPoint and Dynamics NAV Add-ons. Wasted time and resources is all too common when it comes to shipping. With so many potential points of failure, having a fast, proven, and cost-effective way to integrate the various shipping vendors with Dynamics NAV can be a game changer. Dynamics NAV Addons Shipping Connector is a quick-to-install and easy-to-use add-on that can help your company save time and resources, increase shipping speed and accuracy, and eliminate the need to type in shipping addresses manually. In fact, this tool eliminates the need to rekey data into any system at any point. Our speaker today is Bob Cole, Managing Director at Dynamics NAV Addons. This company is an award-winning global developer for add-ons and utilities for Dynamics NAV. They've been working with Navision and Dynamics NAV since 1995. In addition to having products which appeal to a broad audience, special care is given so that all of their software products are easy to buy, install, use, and support. Today, Bob will show you how you can ship and track orders with ease and accuracy, consolidate information, increase shipping speed, and save warehouse resources. Again, we'll have Q&A at the end of the presentation, so we'll look for your questions in the questions pane of our GoToWebinar console. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Bob.
Suzanne, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to present this. As it turns out, the Shipping Connector has gone through some dramatic improvements recently, and you are some of the first people to be able to see them. So I'm going to go through a little PowerPoint, and we're going to talk about, first of all, what does the Shipping Connector do? What does the Shipping Connector connect to? What does it not do? And now we're going to show today that rate shopping and address verification are available, and I will be showing them. And we'll also discuss why they're important and why they're so necessary. So first of all, what does the Shipping Connector do? It passes sales header information from NAV over to any carrier software that accepts an external data connection. This means that any field that has data in that exists both in NAV and in the carrier software is available to be mapped. Now, recently we've increased the number of fields out of the box that are mapped, and we've added the ability to store third-party billing information, recipient billing accounts, even blind shipments are available. So so out of the box only ship to address fields is no longer true. We map a lot of information out of the box. In fact, most information that most people need to have. Once the shipment is processed, just as you would normally process it in UPS WorldShip or FedEx Ship Manager, the tracking number and the freight charges are returned back to NAV and may be modified in a markup set of rules if you decide that that's what you want to do. And we'll take a quick look at markup rules. So what do we connect to? Well, out of the box, we connect to FedEx Ship Manager, UPS WorldShip, and USPS Endaisha Pro, as well as Stamps.com, which purchased Endaisha. And Purelator we've also connected to. We've also connected to Canada Post. And theoretically, we should be able to connect to any carrier software, any installable carrier software that can reside on a shipping computer. So also, the requirement is that the shipping computer does not have to have NAV installed on it, but it must be able to link to the NAV server because we're going to be passing data back and forth between NAV and the shipping computer in both directions. Up until recently, we only would accept an ODBC connection, which meant that the shipping computer had to be the shipping software had to be installed on a computer that was on the local network with the NAV server. No longer true. We now are able in NAV 2015, 2016, and 2017 to use web services to be able to connect a remote shipping workstation to the NAV server as long as the web services are enabled on the NAV server. So it's a quick and easy install as long as somebody knows how to, on the IT end of the end user, knows how to expose web services on the NAV server and can give us the username and password to be able to accept it. We can connect the shipping workstation in a matter of about 10 minutes. Now, what does the shipping connector not do? It does not pass line level data. So it doesn't make any difference as far as we're concerned what's on the line. We're not going to pass the line level data at this time. We are working on being able to pass line level data and hope to have that finished, but at this time we're going to pass the header information. The shipping person is going to pack and World Ship or Ship Manager exactly the way they always have. Put a box on a scale, the scale's linked to the shipping computer. When the box is full, they close it and they generate a label, and that data gets sent back to NAV, which we then import into the sales order. So in a demonstration, it really doesn't matter what I put on the lines because we're not going to pass the line level data. Now, that means that if you're going to be doing international shipping and you need to be able to generate a commercial invoice, this is probably not the right product for you, or you'll need to have some of your item data stored in your shipping software. Okay, so let's take a look at it. With that in mind of what it does and doesn't do, let's jump over to NAV, and we are showing today NAV 2017. This will look and function the same for 2015, 16, and 17. So if we go to departments and we go to order processing, and we're going to create a new sales order, and we're going to use John Haddock Insurance Company in Boston, on Berkeley Street in Boston. It happens that I know that Berkeley Street is spelled incorrectly, and this is not the right zip code. Now, if you were to ship this order out, and I'm going to show this with FedEx Ship Manager today, so I'm going to enter in an item number, and it doesn't matter what I put in here. Now, when I release this order, it's going to write all of this data, including some information down here. Now, in this case, we're saying we're going to bill the sender. And that means that the sender, which is me, is going to receive the charges back onto the sales order line and go through a markup routine. I could bill the recipient, bill a third party, or bill a blind shipment. This can be used as by a fulfillment house for blind shipments by setting up the blind shipment location as a location card. So we're going to leave it. This is the standard way that most people are sending it out. Shipping gets billed to the sender. We'll leave it like that for now. You could, in this case, we're not going to put this in. We could put the shipping agent in, since I'm using FedEx Ship Manager. We're going to say FedEx, and if we specify, yes, we'll update the order. If we specify the service, that will pass over to the carrier. So if you want to send it overnight and you specify it on here, when we transfer the data over to FedEx Ship Manager. That information will transfer, this information will transfer, and the ship to address information will transfer. I'm going to jump into the address verification since I happen to know that this address is incorrect. So we have added in a function called rate quoting and address verification. We'll talk about rate quoting in a little bit, but we're going to open this up, and automatically the system has reached out into, in this case, validated by the US Postal Service. Okay, it has reached out into and it has corrected the spelling of the address. If you notice on here, let's see if I can get this down here. There we go. And now bring this up. So you can see that this is the way I spelled it before. This is, in fact, the correct spelling in Boston. And this is the wrong zip code. This is, in fact, the correct zip code. So when I click on this, it's going to update the shipping address. Now, had I not corrected it, it would have arrived at John Haddock Insurance Company on Berkeley Street in Boston. However, FedEx would have charged you $10 or $15 to look up the correct address. If you spell something wrong, if you spell street wrong, they'll correct it for you for $10. If you fail to put an apartment or a suite number, they'll correct it for $25. This is a profit center for both FedEx and UPS, correcting addresses that people do not spell correctly. This is why this address validation information is so important. We'll talk about the rate shopping in a little bit. So at this point, we have a corrected address, and now we're going to release the order. Releasing the order writes the data over to a middleware database that we have installed on the shipping computer, and there is a little icon right here in the tray. And this icon will turn green as the data passes. Now we have it set up to automatically poll NAV for newly released orders every 15 minutes. You can set that time, the polling time, to be whatever you want. I'm going to release the order, but I don't particularly feel like waiting 15 minutes for this to write, so I'm going to right click on this and say synchronize, and the data just got written. So the order number is 1019. Now I'm going to open up FedEx Ship Manager. Say clear the fields, and it opens up a window for you to either barcode scan in or type in the sales order number that you want to process. So it's 1019, and there's all of the information. It's brought in the service that we requested. It's brought in the contact information. You can see that the spelling of the address has been corrected. It is now corrected, and you won't get dinged for $15, which you would have gotten had you passed that information over without validating the address. Had we specified a third-party account, it would have changed the bill transportation to recipient, third party, or collect, and it would have passed the account number, which we're storing on the customer card. So you can store account numbers. You can store account numbers for FedEx Ship Manager or UPS or both on separate lines, so that you can go in to either FedEx or UPS or stamps.com or any other carrier software and utilize that. Once this has been filled out and you're happy with this, the weight needs to be grabbed from the scale. Let's say that it's 10 pounds. And we say, if you want to put a declared value in, you can. If you want to put in dimensions, we can manually enter dimensions, and we'll say this is 10 by 10 by 12. So now when we say ship, in 5 seconds, that data is going to get written back to here, and there it goes. The data is now back, has been written into the database. It's trying to print a label, but I don't have a Zebra printer attached to this computer, so it would save it as a PDF if I wanted to. We go back to NAV, and we hit Apply Freight. The shipment date, yeah. And it says, this is the date it was shipped, this is how it was shipped, there's the tracking number, and there's the freight charges. It's that simple. Now, since we're not passing line level data, somebody's going to have to go in and post this order after the shipment has been processed. Now, you can manually go in and push this button, Apply Freight, or you can, if you want, yeah, this is an improvement in 2017, you could go into our shipping connector software and say, Apply Freight to sales orders. If you click on this button, it's going to take all orders that have been processed by the shipping computer and apply freight to all of them. Somebody's still going to, but at that point you could go in and batch post all your sales orders by putting a filter on there that the tracking number is not blank. So if the tracking number is not blank, then the order posts, because that's an indication that it has been successfully processed. So that's the shipping connector. It's extremely simple to use. It's inexpensive. It doesn't require a subscription. It can be set up in less than an hour of time. Doesn't require as some larger shipping packages require. Does not require anybody to be on site, does not require a subscription, does not require huge rate table updates, because you're using the carrier software, and when you hit ship, it's going to grab the rates from FedEx or UPS automatically. So you don't have to worry about updating rate tables. You don't have to worry about any of this. So as long as the service you want to use is in FedEx Ship Manager, and I believe FedEx Freight is in there, and UPS Freight is also in UPS World Ship, so you could use UPS Freight and FedEx Freight from the Ship Manager software or the World Ship software. Now, that's the shipping connector. Doesn't require the shipping person to have any typing skills. Passes tracking numbers. By the way, one of the things I didn't point out is that not only does it pass the tracking number, let's go back to departments and let's open that sales order up again. 1019. Not only do we have the tracking number here on the line, we also have populated the tracking number on the shipping, the package tracking number field. And the reason that's important is that when you post this shipment, from the posted sales shipments, NAV has always had, for 20 years, they've had a built-in function called track package. And as long as the package tracking number is in this field on the shipping and billing fast tab, then it will automatically pass the tracking number and open a window that tells you where your package is. So it's important to be in this field as well as on the sales order line, so that it posts through for the invoice, and it becomes a record on the sales invoice. Now, what happens if you have multiple packages? You can set this up to have all of this information per package. However, there's only one place for a tracking number in NAV, and only the master tracking number is going to populate here. The other tracking numbers will populate on the line, but only the master tracking number will populate on here. So now let's take a look at some of the setup functionality as far as upcharging. If we go into the shipping connector setup, we have something called rate adjustments. And in this screen, you can set whatever rules you want, understanding that these are going to apply globally. You can say it applies to everybody, or it applies only to shipments, or only to quotes. You can have different rules for different functions. You can have a rule that is specific to a customer, or a ship to address, or a shipping agent, so that you can have a rule for marking up freight that is specific to UPS or specific to FedEx. You can have a rule that's specific to UPS next day early morning delivery. If you want to add an extra fee, you can specify a line that says if this customer requests this service, then this is the rule. In this case, we say orders less than $1,000 have a markup of $10. In this case, we say orders greater than $1,000 get free shipping. So you can control, and you can also have a start date and end date. If you have a promotional period for free shipping during Christmas, you can set a start date and end date for free shipping for orders over $50. So there's a huge amount of flexibility in here that you can set as many rules as you want, understanding that the software is going to pick the best fit for the most specific fit first, and then go up to more and more general fits. So this is able. You can also specify in general if you want free shipping. Now we also handle sales orders as well as purchase return orders and service items. So we're one of the very few, in fact, we're one of the only ones that will offer shipping software that works with the NAV service management system. You can, if you want, have NAV create an email that automatically gets sent, or you can say that you want the system to use UPS Quantum View or FedEx, whatever the FedEx has their own ship alert notify. If that's what you want to have happen, you can put a check mark here, and then when you ship the order in Ship Manager, it will automatically send an email notification via their internal notification software about the fact that a shipment was sent to them and what the tracking number is. Lots of things have improved. Now, the one thing that I want to move on to, and that is rate quoting. Why is rate quoting important? Let's go in and we're going to create another order because we've already got that one. So we got a new order. Come on. Let's get a new order. There. And let's send it to this customer this time. Nancy Calkin in Roanoke, Virginia. And we're going to say it is, instead of using 1920, it's a 1968-S, a Mexico swivel chair. Okay, now prior to the fact that you've released the order, you may want to quote the shipping. And there are two reasons why you might want to do that. Number one is, old Nancy said she's not going to place the order unless she knows exactly how much it's going to cost her, including the freight. The other reason, and this is actually even more important, is that if you're going to charge Nancy for this chair before it ships by credit card, and you are using some credit card processing software like ChargeLogix, When you release the order, ChargeLogix or the credit card software goes out and grabs an authorization for the total amount of the order. And if you don't have freight on the line here before you hit release, then the authorization is not going to include freight. And when you try to post it, it's not going to charge the entire amount against the credit card. It'll charge only what has been authorized. So if you're going to be sending stuff out using built-in credit card processing, and you want to include a freight charge, you must get that freight line on there prior to releasing the order. So let's go back to Actions, and let's hit Apply Freight. I'm sorry, not Apply Freight, Rate Quote. So it has corrected the address. And it has been recognized that this is a residential address. It's been validated by the Postal Service and FedEx. For some reason, and I don't know why, but if I revalidate that, now it's been validated by the Postal Service, UPS, and FedEx. All three services recognize this address. So now we're going to say we're going to send Nancy a large box. We can create templates, as many templates as we want, small, medium, large. We can have any dimensions we want. We can set up a template if this is always going to be a 15-pound shipment. Well, in this case, we're going to say this is going to be a 12-pound shipment. Okay, so now we say add this. And if we want to add more packages, we can add more packages on here. We're going to get rates from UPS, USPS, and FedEx. So if we can say get rates, whatever's been validated, there's the rates to ship this package by this service. There's UPS Priority. There's UPS Media. I'm not sure library mail is, there's parcel, library parcel. There's FedEx. Overnight, 2-day, UPS ground, 3468. So whatever it is that you choose, you can say apply rate, and it creates a line on here for freight and recognizes that when you eventually do release the order and process it through UPS or FedEx, that it will not add another freight line in there because freight has already been quoted. So rate shopping, rate quoting is absolutely critical if you're going to use credit card payments for orders prior to the shipment being released, or if the customer simply needs to know how much freight's going to be on an order. This whole rate quoting functionality is brand new. It is optional. You can get the shipping connector with or without this screen. You get the address validation and the rate shopping. Even if you're not going to use the rate shopping, the address validation more than pays for the entire software, probably in a matter of months. I worked for a short period of time for an end user, and I saw the freight bills, and they were many thousands of dollars. They were shipping 2,000 to 3,000 shipments a month, and of those they were getting over $1,000 a month in address correction charges. And if you have any questions about that, go to the accounting office and ask them about corrections charges on the UPS or the FedEx bills. They will probably look at it and groan and say, yes, we get very large charges for this. This function right here can save you the cost of the entire software in a matter of a couple months. So that's pretty much the rate. The shipping connector works with a bunch of different carriers. Simple to use. The shipping person, as far as the shipping person is concerned, all they need to do is have a pick ticket in their hand with a sales order. They can work, and they don't even have to have NAV installed on their computer. This stuff all works. This will be installed on their computer, but NAV doesn't need to be. And as long as this is installed, then It will communicate with the NAV server, and all of this information will simply update, and nobody needs to type anything. So at this point, Suzanne, I think I'm going to open it up and see if anybody's got any questions.
We do have a couple questions, Bob. First one is, how does the software handle hazmat charges?
The software doesn't handle hazmat. UPS World Ship and UPS and FedEx Ship Manager handle that. So as far as we're concerned, that's an ancillary charge that is worked through the through their carrier software. So we're not doing rates. Okay. If they need rate quoting for hazmat, I'll have to talk to the programmer to include the hazmat flag. But as long as their Windows World, their World Ship, UPS World Ship, or FedEx Ship Manager, and they declare for ancillary services hazmat, then that will be built into the freight tariff.
Okay, thank you. And Devor, let us know if you want us to follow up on that. Her next question is address validation. Is that worldwide or just U.S.? What?
It's U.S., just U.S. and Canada at this time. We have not had a chance to look into each country's UPS software has its own address validation, and we have not yet had a chance to look at the address validation worldwide. If it was an issue, I imagine we could look into it. Right now, it's primarily the USPS. It's US mostly.
Right. Our next question is, what happens with multiple shipments on the same line? For example, back orders 3 or 4 times. How will the tracking lines appear and in what order?
It will simply add an additional set of tracking lines. NAV has always had a problem handling back orders from day one. And if you look at a posted sales shipment, the posted sales shipment in native NAV includes all lines whether they were shipped or not. And in fact, it includes all lines whether they're shipped on this shipment or not. So unfortunately, this is a function of native NAV, and we don't do anything different. We have not changed NAV's underlying function. So what we would do is add in the charge. If the invoice portion has been posted, then that will be marked on the line. If we go over to the line and we see that there's a charge here, once this is posted, okay, amount including tax, once this has been posted, quantity to ship and quantity shipped and quantity invoiced, once this is invoiced, it's not going to be invoiced again any differently from anything else in native NAV. So if it has not yet been posted, then adding additional shipments would simply be adding another freight line on and another set of tracking numbers. So we haven't changed the back order functionality in NAV, which is weak to be kind to NAV, in my humble opinion.
Next question is, what is the price for this?
Pricing should be quoted. If you're curious about the pricing, then I would suggest you get in touch with the ArcherPoint representative, and they will be happy to quote you. We sell this through ArcherPoint, and the reason we do that is that, as with all of our add-ons, which, let's just go back to this. This is just a few of our other add-ons. All of our add-ons are built inside of NAV and must be built with objects in a protected range that has been assigned to us, which means therefore that the add-on, whether it's the shipping connector or anything else, needs to be added to your NAV license, and only your partner of record can do that. We are not able to do that, so you will have to go to your partner of record and say, please add the shipping connector to our license, and they will do it. The objects will have to be merged in. As you saw, we've added a couple things to the sales order lines, as well as the ribbon on the header, and there's a whole section, fast tab section, that's been added to the sales order, and we've added some functionality to the customer card as well. So all of that has to be merged in order to be able to avoid overwriting. Sales orders and customer cards are two of the most frequently modified objects in NAV, and we wouldn't want to overwrite anything that you already have done. So a developer would have to perform a merge. It doesn't take very long, but it has to be done, and it has to be added to your NAV license. So we prefer to put this through our partners, and so I would suggest you contact your ArcherPoint representative for a quote.
Yeah, or your partner of record.
Or your partner of
someone
record.
else other than ArcherPoint. Last question is, what versions of NAV does this shipping connector add-on work with?
The shipping connector was built many years ago and works with version 5, 2009 SP1, 2009 R2, 2013 R2. However, the functionality that I showed with the address verification and the rate shopping only works for NAV 2015, 16, and 17. And the reason for that is that it requires web services, and web services were not available prior to NAV 2015.
Great.
Which brings up an interesting other point, is that if you're on an older version of NAV, the remote connection via web services for a workstation is not available. It has to be, for older versions, it has to be done through ODBC. Once we get to 2015, 16, and 17, we can use web services, and the workstation can be anywhere as long as there's a web service available.
Just one more reason to upgrade, right?
One more reason to upgrade. You know, people, it's difficult, but the fact is that 2015, 16, and 17 were major improvements in functionality, and they are worth investing in.
Yeah, you just open lots of doors.
Open lots of doors.
Hopefully we've answered everyone's questions. Definitely be sending an email to follow up. I appreciate everyone setting aside time out of their day for this webinar. We hope you consider it time well spent to help us to continue to offer value. Please take a minute more whenever you have a moment to give us your feedback, and also suggest topics for future Lunch and Learn webinars. Simply email your comments to info@archerpoint.com. Again, that's info@archerpoint.com. Again, thank you everyone, including you, Bob, for your time. And this concludes today's session. Have a great rest of your day.